What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're reacting to the 4th episode of My Team Romcom SNAFU Climax, or Season 3 if you want to prefer it that way. This one's titled By Chance, Yui Uegahama, thinks of the future. Now that title intrigues me because it's focused around Yui, when we know, based on the previews and stuff, that Yukino's mother, more than likely, is going to be getting involved this episode. So why is the title focused on Yui and not Yukino? That's got me thinking. Something tells me that what's going to happen with the mother is either not that big of a deal as it would seem to be, or what's going to happen with the mother is going to have a knock-on effect to Yui. And if it's going to have a knock-on effect to Yui, it's going to be about our boy Hachiman. It's going to end up being about that, because we had the scene in episode, I think it was episode 2, or it might have been last episode. I think it was episode 2, though, when she went on the move, or when they were packing up for the move, where Yui found the picture of Yukino and Hachiman together, just stowed away as if it was very precious and important to Yukino, which just reaffirms that Yukino was still seriously thinking about Hachiman, which came to a bit of a blow to her, so I'm thinking something else is going to happen this episode that makes Yui think that even more. I'm not sure what yet, but I get the feeling something of that nature is going to happen. Because otherwise it would be a Yukino-based title, right? Because Yukino's mother's getting involved, for Christ's sake, so that's what you'd think. Anyway, last time, Komachi got into high school, fully accepted in, and that was a nice character moment. Really quite emotional. I just love her character so much, and yeah, it was just nice chemistry between her and pretty much the entire cast at this point. We then have a nice in-depth conversation with Iraha and Hachiman having a conversation, and we get to a promotional photo shoot for what prom is meant to be like, to basically sell it to people so that they'll be interested in doing such a thing, not just now but in future, and make it more of a tradition thing, because like I said, proms aren't really a Japanese cultural thing. It's definitely a Western cultural thing. I don't know what country would have first had proms. In the UK, proms have been a thing for as far as I know. As far as I remember, I think... don't know if my grandparents ever said that they had a prom or anything. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. And yeah, we also saw Yukino in the soup coattails. And we had Yui in a dress, as well as Iraha in a dress, all just playing the part for the promotional video. So I guess that all went well, and now we're going on to whatever is next after that step. I don't know what's next. Actually organizing it in some way, I don't know. But the mother's going to get involved, that's all I know. Before we start, though, I did want to just mention briefly, because, I said this right at the beginning when Hachiman first opened his mouth in the first episode of this season. And I was like, damn, his voice is different. And it really is. I know it's been 7 years since the very first episode was shown. But if you have Hachiman's voice now versus episode 1 Hachiman, dear God, it's very different. He was nowhere near as deep-voiced back then, in 2013, as he is now. And it's really quite surprising to see. You can tell over the course of Season 1, especially over the first few episodes, his voice when he spoke, and then his internal monologue was definitely deeper voice. That's how you could distinguish his normal voice and his thinking voice, essentially. But that deeper thinking voice just eventually overtook and became just both his voices, essentially. And I found that quite interesting. You can just see over the course of the first season into Season 2 how that developed. But even then, the jump between Season 2 and Season 3, still quite an obvious jump in his voice. I don't know if this has ever been intentional, because part of me would be kind of surprised if it was intentional of him going from the character he was at the very beginning of the show to what he is now. The change in voice would be interesting. But I can't say the same happened for Yukino or Yui's voice, especially Yui. Yui's been very consistent, in my opinion. From what little I've rewatched of Season 1 and Season 2. Her voice seems very consistent over all 3 seasons. Yukino, I don't have enough, I didn't watch enough to get that idea, but Hachiman was the one that stood out, so I researched that one. Anyway, with all that said, let's get into today's episode, shall we? Watching this one on Crunchyroll, as per usual. Link to it will be in the description below. That's where I watch it officially here in the UK. I assume the UK and US usually follow the same pattern, but you can find alternate versions wherever you normally get anime. Wherever normally Crunchyroll anime come in your country, that's where you go. But as always, these are time-based reactions. Bottom left of the screen, you're going to see the timer for the episode. I'll count us down 3, 2, 1, play, and then on play, you start the episode, I start the episode. Timer lets you know we're roughly in sync. I've noticed a bit of an issue with my timer. I feel like it's slightly out of sync, like ever so slightly. I don't know why, because it's a script. It's not like it's a recorded timer that I'm just playing a video file. It's literally a script for time. So I don't know if it's off slightly or what, but some of it just seems off sometimes. I don't quite understand why. It's also partly because Crunchyroll's player pauses for like half a second when you press play for some reason. I don't know why that is either, but whatever. We work with it. As long as you press play when I press play, you're usually in sync close enough. Like, even if you're half a second off sync, it's fine. So, with all that said, let's make this full screen actually. That'd be a good idea. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, play. TBS. Alright. Watching some of the video? Alright. Everyone's talking about it, of course. All over social media, that's good. Naturally. Okay, yeah, set up the official page. Okay. See, there's some of the higher pitched voice in him that like sometimes comes through, but it's very rare this season. Come to tolerate the idea. That's fair. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know about that. We kind of had a conversation about this, but it's fine. Totally not awkward. Totally not awkward. Mm-hmm. Alright, OP time. Okay. My dog is busy making a lot of noise, so sorry if you hear him crunching on a bone. He's very loud for some reason. Even though it's 1:30 in the morning. You know, you think he'd be asleep, but no. No, you think I would be asleep, so who am I to judge? Silly dog. Alright, here we go. Rarapur? I don't even know what that's meant to be a parody of, or if that's a real place. Makes sense. Hair clip always works. I think she'd be happy for the 4, but... it was. Yeah, that too. Jesus, Max's coffee every time. I don't remember him being this obsessed with Max's coffee, but sure, whatever. He actually did the pose, holy cow. This is bizarre. Mm-hmm. Get the both of them in there. Alright. Of course, immediately. Still got to buy the present. Well, that's an obvious parody. Oh, they're adorable. He's just sitting down doing nothing. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. I wonder where his mind did go for this. An oil baron. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And of course. Uh-huh. Alright. That would be nice. Can he make... Can he cook? I think he's not terrible, right? Sure. A mug? Okay. Alright. Sounds like we are getting an idea together. No, boy, what now? Why? This is very ominous. Oh, right. Okay, this is how they're gonna... Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I think at break time as well. And we back. Why? Parent-teacher association, I'm guessing. Or organization if it's PTO. I'm becoming a... Really? To enjoy themselves? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Makes way too much sense, yeah. Mm. Mm. Oh boy. Right. Ooh. Don't. Don't follow that line. Sure. I suppose. That's also fair. But people are more likely to say they hate something than they like something. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. You gonna step in? Where's the school stance? There we go. Okay, good. That's helpful. Autonomy of the students, yes, very good. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so we're just pushing it back a little bit. Hmm. There's every need to push herself. Oof. Okay, that was quite the encounter. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm. Huh? 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 Wait, she's not. She's leaving. Or transferring. Or retire. Well, she's not retiring, I don't think, at this age, but she's transferring or moving. Hmm. Yeah. And then. Right, she's trying to keep them out of it. Hmm. Hmm. Right. She's got to do this to herself because it's not just right, but this is important to her to. That's also true. I wouldn't say without help, but makes it obvious that it was her being the driving force behind it. Hmm. It's a good point, though. It's not a point they want to accept, but it is the correct point. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. That look. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Hmm. Ooh, that was a scene. An immediate rain. I forget what the terminology is for when the weather mirrors the mood, but there's a word for that in storytelling. I forget what it's called. I studied it at school. There's a term for it. Mm-hmm. He is aware. I mean, yeah, normally they don't recognize it. Codependency, alright. Mm, mm, right. Mm, a little insight into her as well there. Hmm. Rain's cleared though. Yes, we did. Hmm. That's not a genuine laugh. Hmm. Oh, what now? Was it this with the school side or something? That's what I got there. Mm-hmm. Right. Of course he does. Oh boy. Right. Mm-hmm. He still wants to help. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what she wanted to hear, alright. Although... Not showing her face for an extended period of time here. Is she crying? Yeah, she was. I knew it. I mean, she heard that. No, you didn't. Oh boy. I mean... I don't think he realizes what he said. As soon as she's out of earshot and eye shot, she's just gonna break down crying. Is he gonna look back over? Yeah, he is. Yeah, she's gone. He's essentially made his choice here. And let me guess, she's just around the corner. Fuck, dude. He definitely wouldn't have. But not stop forever. Mm-hmm. Back to the picture, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she thinks of the future. Alright. Oh wow, we're getting just credit style ED. Okay. Okay. This feels like an end of season episode. I don't know why it does, but especially with the way the music swelled in and now we've got rolling credits. It feels very end of season-y. I don't know why. I guess you could say it's the end of an arc and it's Hachiman making a decision, I suppose. You could definitely make that point. Alright, we're going to get a little preview here at the end. Or a continuation, I don't know what. It's probably going to be a preview, though. TBS, yes. Alright, what we got? Yeah, preview. Mm-hmm. Shizuka Hiratsuka deeply longs for days of the past, was that it? I'm just might check that in a second. Yep, presented by Sentai, blah blah blah. Is that it? Yep, that's it. That's the end of the episode, okay. Alright, what was that title? Let me just double check that again. Shizuka Hiratsuka deeply longs for the days past. Okay, okay. Shizuka, that is, that's the teacher, so we're going to be contemplating more on the teacher there as well. With her leaving the school, either transferring to a different school, changing professions. I don't know what it ultimately means for her to be leaving. There are many different ways you could be leaving for something like that. Interesting. Well, I think it's fair to say at that point, Hachiman has made his choice, right? There was, whenever you have a love triangle or harem-based show, there's always the question, if it were to end, and there is going to be an actual relationship born out of it, which way it goes? Who do you pick? Normally, when I watch a romance show, because I love my romance shows, it's one of my favorite genres. Somehow it's not my most viewed genre, but I think that's just because comedy gets shoved onto everything and therefore comedy overtakes it. Like, favorite genres, according to AniList, you got comedy, slice of life, and romance. But slice of life and comedy can be thrown onto basically any show. But if you're talking like actual main genres, romance is by far my most as well. 128 different romance shows, including sequels. Over 22 days of romance shows. Watch, Jesus Christ. So yeah, normally when you have a romance show like this, the first girl you're introduced to, or the one that seems to have the most story relevance, essentially, that always becomes the main route, and is the expected route of, if they were going to fall in love with someone, that would be who it is. So for example, let's pick out one here. What show should we go with? I need a good example of this. Because none of these are really good examples, whatever it's recommending. Like, it's recommending ones where it's like, okay, it was the only route. I guess Nisekoi is an option there, because, like, who does he go with in Nisekoi? Like, does he stick with... Like, it seems like, story-wise, it would be... Shitoge. Then Onodera, like, that one's much more up in the air in my mind. I don't know if that ever... I don't know if a route ever was picked in the source material. Don't tell me if it did, because I'd kind of like to read it one day and find out myself. But, you know. What other stories have we got here? So let's just filter by the ones that I have watched. What other ones have we got multi-routes that we could go with? Single route, single route, single route. A lot of these are very much single routes, and I'm just like, why? Yeah, a lot of these are single route, not harem based. Just doing my head in here. Quintessential quintuplets is a whole mess. I don't know how you'd resolve that one. Domestic girlfriend, that was the whole thing as well. I can't find any good examples of it now. It's really doing my head in, because I know exactly what type of shows I'm talking about, but I can't find the show that I'm thinking about. Okay, Sing Yesterday for me is another option. It's like, story-wise, it just makes sense for Rosemi and Haru to get together. It was always going to be the case, because why would they introduce Haru as this factor, as a romantic interest, if she wasn't going to be the main route? Because, like, it was just so obvious just from the way the show was marketed and everything that was going to be the main route out of it. So that one was fairly obvious. And then you have... Is there going to be another one like that I can find here? Because I don't think there will be at this rate. There really isn't another one I can think of, is there? Nope. There really isn't. Our Love Has Always Been 10 centimeters apart. Did I watch that one? I can't remember a second of that one, actually, to be fair. I can't find other options now, and it's really bugging me, but whatever. Whatever, it's not important. I know what point I was trying to make. So yeah, it looks like Yukino is going to be the main route that he ultimately sides with, and I think from the start of the show that was going to be established. Yui was always like, Yui's the childhood friend character, and as with most visual novels and stuff, normally the main route is not the childhood friend. The childhood friend's always second best, I think, in a lot of stories, which is a real shame, because it usually hits them the hardest when they realize they're not who their friend has their interests on, and that's always sad to see. What was the what was the visual novel that I'm thinking of here? It was called Princess something. What was it called? Princess something. What was it called? Princess Evangelion. There we go. That's the one I'm thinking of. Rise was the main route of that visual novel, and then it was Chiho. Was it Chiho? Princess Princess Evangel. And then who was the other one? Yeah, so it was Rise, Chiho, I think was the other one, right? Where's the character names? Yeah, Rise, Chiho, and then Ayaka and Ritsuko were like other characters. But that was a visual novel very much where your choice mattered. So it's like you could, depending on how you wanted the story to go, you could pick which one you wanted to. It wasn't very heavy on the choice aspects. It was like there was like 3 moments in the novel that you would pick who you would go with, and as long as you just pick those 3 moments, the same person, it was like, okay, now you're on their route, and the story would go their route. It wasn't like you had to do much work to build up their routes, which was kind of interesting. And then you had obviously all the different side characters that got through. This was a fantastic visual novel, by the way. Like, if you have not played or read through Princess Evangel, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite visual novels to ever come out. It got an update as well, like a DLC package, Princess Evangel with Happiness, which added 5 more routes towards the end, I believe. Was it 5? It might have been more than 5. I can't remember. But a lot of the side characters also got their routes, such as... did Marika? I think Marika may have got a route as well. But who was the best girl? Was it Ruriko? I think it was Ruriko. Yeah, it's Ruriko. Best girl got her route, along with Pantabel. God love Pantabel. So yeah, that was another example of that story. But for this show, I get what they're going with the codependency thing, but I sometimes feel like the more adult figures in this show are trying to impose their knowledge down onto our main cast. And I think, in a way, that's not helping them. Like, in a way. Like, I don't think their guidance is having the effect that they want it to have on these characters. It almost feels like they're trying to avoid our main characters from making mistakes that they have made, when part of the process of learning and growing is to make mistakes. Like, if you go your entire life without making mistakes, you're not going to have a good time. Like, you need to make mistakes to know the boundaries and to know what it means to fail. Like, if you don't know failure, things are going to go badly for you. And when you eventually do experience failure, it's going to hurt that much more, and you're not going to be ready for it. Part of living is failure. And whilst it sucks, especially in the age that these characters are as teenagers, like, it sucks going through school because you've got all these pressures on you. You've got it drilled into you, at least with the current like education system. You've got it drilled in you that this influences your life. This is how you can go about life. Without this is a core aspect to what it means to live, which is absolute bollocks, by the way. Like, school's helpful for teaching you critical skills, but most of those skills come in the form of memory and just being able to recite information just to get past arbitrary tests. Like, that's not how the real world works. The real world is far more adaptive and malleable than what school would teach you about. And school does not teach you about the most important parts of living life. Like, it teaches you all these arbitrary things which are meant to have a knock-on effect, but depending on what teachers you get, they either do or they don't. I was very lucky to have a very, very good maths teacher, Mrs. Laba. He was a fantastic maths teacher, and he got across not just that you have to remember formulas and use them in certain situations. He taught you what it means to try and dissect the formula and actually understand how it works, why this works, where the patterns are in mathematics, and he was just a brilliant teacher in that regard, and I have an infinite amount of respect for him. I don't believe he still teaches at my school. He was studying, like, he was, even as a teacher, like, he was the type of teacher that was like, he wasn't just content to teach at the current level he was at, he was constantly trying to learn. Like, he was going for his, I think he was going for another degree in mathematics whilst he was teaching us. Like, he was still doing his more degrees as well to further his knowledge even more, because, like, he was never satisfied with just knowing what he knows and then staying there. He always wanted to progress, and, like, I'm very lucky to have had him as a teacher for 2 years during my GCSEs. Like, he was absolutely fantastic, and like I said, infinite amount of respect for him. Like, if I ever saw him again, because I don't have a reason to see him again, because I've moved away from where I went to school, so I'm not there anymore. And I don't think he's there anymore either. So the chances of us crossing paths again is, like, not likely, but I would like to thank him again at some point. Like, if I could at some point meet him again and say thank you, I honestly would. But anyway, that went off on a bit of a rambly topic, and I've gone on for too long. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm loving this show. I really am. It's very word heavy still, and I think a lot of it's still open to interpretation depending on how you relate to each character. I think depending on what sort of age range you are, if you are still in, like, the teenage age range where you're relating more with our main characters than maybe with the adult characters, I think you'd have a very different interpretation of how this show's going than me, who's kind of like the in-between. Like, I'm not a high schooler, but I'm not really, like, a grown adult that's figured their way out through life. I'm still getting there. Like, I'm fairly stable, but, like, I've still got a long ways to go before I honestly consider myself a full-grown adult that knows exactly what they're doing and what they're talking about. I'm still ways from that. But some of my older audience, you would probably relate more to the old characters in this and how they're perceiving the younger generation in that sense. So, yeah, leave your comments what you thought of the episode as per usual, and don't forget to hit subscribe to see next week's episode, as well as the rest of the Summer 2020 lineup you can find on my channel. Fridays are no longer a single show day as well, because Millionaire Detective is back, so I'm going to go off record that. I hope you'll be joining me for that one as well. Fantastic show, and I'm really looking forward to getting back into it. So thank you everyone for watching. Until next time, see you guys later.